Well, welcome everybody. We are streaming live on our Facebook page, the Nonprofit Partnership, and we are thrilled to offer another segment of our interview series called Our Stories, Our Time. I'm Carolina Quesada with the Nonprofit Partnership, and in this series, we interview nonprofit leaders to understand how these current times, what's happening with their organizations during these current times and how they're navigating challenges, but also what successes they're having. And if you watched any of these interviews before, you know that we just love the personal stories, the stories behind, the leaders that we get to talk to. Before I introduce today's guest, the Nonprofit Partnership wishes to thank the Port of Long Beach for their very generous support of this interview series. If you are watching us live today, really want to invite you to engage with us, leave comments for our special guests today, be on the lookout for various links that will take you to web pages and Facebook pages so that you can continue to interact with the organization we are going to introduce you to shortly. Actually, with that, I think I will just go ahead and make that introduction, Bill. I would love to introduce Bill Cruikshank, Executive Director of Meals on Wheels, Long Beach. Bill, welcome. Have really been looking forward to this conversation today.
Thank you, Carolina. I'm looking forward to it too. And thank you to the Port of Long Beach, who supports so many of us, even outside this interview. So we thank the Port as well.
Thank you for that. Yeah, there's a lot of sponsorship happening in the community.
Yeah.
So Bill, let's hear a little bit more about you. Who is Bill Cruikshank? How, did you come to be a part of the Meals on Wheels Long Beach family? So before we talk a little bit more about your programs, let's get to know more about you.
Well, my story with Meals on Wheels goes back to my teenage years, as it is with many people that I have to say that whenever I run into somebody and I say I work for Meals on Wheels, they go, "Oh, I remember my mother used to get Meals on Wheels, or my aunt used to deliver for Meals on Wheels." And I have to say, well, what city? And, it's all over the country. My mother was a Meals on Wheels volunteer, and when I was a teenager, and I was kind of, she had a term for me. I wasn't the most pleasant young teenager. I wanted to hang out with my friends and do what I wanted to do. And during the holidays, she would drag me along by the ear, put an elf hat on me, and take me along as her Christmas elf, and deliver gifts to the people she had on her delivery route. And I say that because, one, I was really pretty, I was the grumpy elf. I think there's a movie about a grumpy elf, but I was the original. And my mother was so full of cheer, and you couldn't, it was difficult not to get into the mood. So I did this numerous times, and I knew when the holidays would come, I would be putting on the hat and going out on a delivery route with her. But she was very engaged with each and every one of the people she delivered meals to. She would buy gifts for them, have them wrapped up during the holidays, and they were just little gifts of whatever it might be, but they were her friends. And these were people who had no one else. And I think that is at the core of Meals on Wheels. This is far more than a delivery service. You can call Grubhub, you can call Pizza, Domino's, you can order now online with Ralph's, but you can't order up a personal relationship and a friendship and someone that cares and loves you. And that's what each and every delivery is about with Meals on Wheels here in Long Beach. We're a little different than some of the other ones. We're old school. I believe in my heart that God put me into this role 12 years ago because of my experience. I think he and my mother had a hand in this. And that's why I'm here. So, and
Wow.
I remember the olden days,
Mm.
when people had a little more time and they, moved a little slower. And so we try to keep that theme here, and I think we do a very good job of it.
What an amazing story. What an amazing story and personal connection, that is just so personal to you.
Yeah.
Will, I think, always live in that memory, but also is so a part of you, and for things to come full circle, well, where now you are the executive director and you're leading the organization. So I think, I'll ask the question that some folks might be curious about. Do you still have that alpha, that elf costume,
No,
or maybe pictures of those days?
no, but I have a Santa, one of those red and white Santa hats with the ball on the top. Yeah, I have one of those they pull
Okay,
out.
that's
Yeah.
great. I'm
Yeah.
sure you still channel those days when you
Oh,
you
I
probably
do.
pull that out and wear
Yeah.
that.
But I have to tell you, when during the holidays or even today, I see my mother in the volunteers that come in every day. And
Yeah.
what a wonderful place for me to be. This is kind of my last job in life. I plan on working here until I can work no more. And I mean that seriously, physically
Yes.
and emotionally.
Right.
And so I plan to be here until I'm 80, maybe. I don't know, 80 to, 80's the new whatever. Maybe I'll be here till I'm 90, till they kick me out. Um, but what a wonderful place to come and see the goodness every day in people that and we're going to talk about volunteers a
Yes.
little later, but it's a real blessing to me. I see the good in life every day. Unfortunately, I don't pay attention to the news so much as I get to see the live news feed every day in my life when I come to work.
Yes, literally
Yeah,
right before your eyes, right?
yeah,
Panning out right before your eyes and around you.
yeah.
And for an organization like Meals on Wheels, I mean, I think the organization here in Long Beach got started back in the 70s. And your own personal story, and I'm so grateful that we started with your personal story, because I think that's a story that resonates with a lot of people. And as you were saying a little earlier, definitely, we want to talk a little bit more about your volunteers and how important it is to have this robust, kind of workforce there. So we'll get to explore that in just a couple of minutes. But before we do, for those very rare few folks who haven't engaged with Meals on Wheels, or maybe they don't have a family member that's had an opportunity to partake in your services, describe to us, what does Meals on Wheels do? And I think you kind of gave us a taste of that a few minutes ago, but tell us more about your programs and your services and who you serve.
Sure. So number one, who we serve are the homebound. And I think over the years that term has morphed from shut-ins to people. Well, during COVID-19, they were locked down, and that was America. The entire country was
Mhm.
homebound. But we refer to them as homebound older adults and people that are disabled. So they don't need to be any specific age, 18 to, I think our oldest client I can recall was 107, and she was with us for a number of years.
Yeah.
So there's no age restriction. The restriction is they need to be homebound. They need to not be able to get out and shop for food or stand long enough in the kitchen to prepare a fresh hot meal.
Hmm.
Uh, so that's kind of the beginning of what we do. Obviously, Meals on Wheels kind of tells the story of what we do. We deliver meals.
Hmm.
It was a concept that started in London, England at the end of World War II. And it was a group of women that saw that there was a need for war veterans that were disabled or injured from the war that were homebound. And I would imagine they rode around on those English bicycles and had baskets on the back of the bicycle. This is just my vision of it. And they would take freshly prepared meals to to those people that were homebound in England. And then it moved to United States in 1955 and started in Philadelphia. And we started, as you said, in the 70s, 1971. Again, it was founded by women that cooked the meals in someone's home, and then they went out and delivered to the clients. So it quickly grew here in Long Beach, and they formed a nonprofit, organized 501c3 nonprofit back in the 70s. And we quickly started getting more and more clients. Obviously, I wasn't around there. I was, learning how to live life. Um, but we deliver 2 meals each
Okay.
day. And this is Meals on Wheels Long Beach. There are Meals on Wheels programs, 5 to 6,000 of them around the country, I believe.
Wow.
And they're networked by an organization called Meals on Wheels America that is more of they do advertising nationally for Meals
Okay.
on Wheels programs, and we're kind of all members of that. But we're all autonomous. We operate under our own bylaws, our own nonprofit organizations, and so we're all a little different, and which is great because each city may need a different approach. And Long Beach is a city that is geographically a size that we can tackle as using volunteers, and we can get to people easily. And so as it started in one church in downtown Long Beach. We're still operating out of churches. And currently our main location is Belmont Methodist Church here in Long Beach. But we're delivering 2 meals, a dessert and a beverage. The thing that makes us special is that, and this was true all the way through COVID, we still prepared a hot, fresh dinner served hot in an aluminum tray that morning, and it's delivered hot. And then they receive a complete lunch, salad, sandwich, sometimes a large, like a chef salad for lunch, dessert, and a beverage. So that delivering, that's the primary focus of what we do. Um,
And are
but
you delivering twice a day, or is it 2 meals,
it's
one
all
trip?
delivered at one time
Got it. Got it.
in between, say, 10:30 and 12:30
Okay.
each day.
Okay. And you really started answering this question too about what makes Long Beach unique. Can you share with us a little bit more about what is unique about our city, our region? How do you go about this work, and how does that tie into maybe the uniqueness of our local culture?
Well, I think and this is something we want to grow, so I really want to highlight it. But community involvement is what makes Long Beach great for our program. I think everybody in the city of Long Beach is familiar with our program, Meals on Wheels. They see the cars, the volunteers have the door magnets stuck on the side of their car. They see them delivering. You'd have to be blind not to see what's
Mm-hmm.
going on. Um, but it's also a community of volunteers. We operate out of 3 locations, one in Bixby Knolls, one in East Long Beach, and one in the Belmont Heights area. So we're delivering into Leisure World to over 100 people in that community, and have a lot of support from the foundation that supports the low income people living in Leisure World. And that's a big part of our program has become serving the poor and the people that can't afford food, and especially now with the prices. I mean, it
Yeah.
doesn't all of us go to the market and we see things have doubled
Right.
in this year, and
Right.
so we try to keep our costs down, but we also have people that can't afford to pay the fee that we charge for the meals.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So donors are very important, and I think the community support in terms of volunteerism and people who contribute financially is really special in Long Beach.
Yes. Yeah.
That's what keeps us going.
Right, absolutely. And I'm so glad you brought that up, because that is something that is very distinct about Long Beach. It is that sense of investment in community, investment in who lives in the vicinity. Like, we're neighbors, we interact with each other. And really, it seems like Meals on Wheels allows for there to be that opportunity to really engage in a very, very tangible way, to give back in a very tangible way. And I'd like to go back to something you were sharing a little earlier, where it's not just the delivery of a meal, right? There's a relationship that's being developed there. So it sounds like even those volunteers have regular routes, perhaps that they
Oh,
cover,
yeah.
maybe folks that they see practically every day. Is that right, Bill?
Well, they may do it once a week. We deliver 5 days a week, but they may come in multiple days and volunteer and do a route. But I will tell you that just like with my mother, they were her people. They were not the program's people. They were her friends, her people. She was delivering food, but then developed this relationship she had with each and every one of them, and she cared about them, and that's what's happening today here. And I think that's what's so special for me, is that I see that happening on a daily basis. So we have a logo that says we're more than a meal, because we
Yes.
really need to remind people that delivering food is the ticket to get in the door.
Mm,
It's I think Jesus always, he was always doing things around a meal, right? The Last Supper or something, it was always feeding the multitudes, but food is always the thing that you can bring people a meal, and it relaxes the relationship, and it allows for a lot more to happen. And we've discovered that is what allows us to bring so much more into the lives of people that we serve. And I could run down a list of things that we do. From
mhm.
we have a veterinary hospital in Lakewood that supports us with donated pet food.
Wow.
We're working on getting funding to bring basic veterinary services to people who can't afford the vet. I mean, I don't
Mhm.
know if you have a pet, but if you've taken your pet to the vet,
It's
that's
not cheap.
shocking. No, and
Exactly.
many of the people that need us most are the poorest in our community, and we're helping with those kinds of things. The pet assistance program that we have, we work with other nonprofits that serve seniors that don't get access to seniors in their homes.
Wow. And
The homebound.
right. And let's talk about this a little bit, because I think that your ability to engage other organizations, other service providers in what you're doing, the networks that you've created, the way that you're engaging with community, it allows for there to be actual partnership, right? And an
Absolutely.
invitation for others to also contribute
Yeah.
to making a better impact. And I think you used the word access a little earlier into these homes as well.
Yeah. So the world is now, we teach our seniors to be very skeptical of phone calls and scams. And
Right.
so when somebody comes genuinely trying to help, sometimes there's some resistance to that. And so when they come through Meals on Wheels, which is a trusted name that they recognize, we really want our client sounds a little clinical to me, but our family members, our clients, um, open up and let us know what they need. Sometimes when we send volunteers out delivering meals, many times they're reporting back to us things that they see that need some resolution. Maybe
Mm,
hygiene issues in the home. Maybe they need in-home supportive services just to help get
mhm,
the apartment or house cleaned up. They don't know how to access these things. There's lots of services available to people, but they can't access them. And the people that provide the services to seniors can't get to the seniors because they're skeptical, and there's a trust issue
right.
there. Um,
Right.
so that's where we become a point of contact, and start working with bringing in outside services. And just to mention a couple of organizations that we work with that I love, because they solve problems. They're not looking to fill out the form, they're solving problems, and that's Pathways, which is a program based out of Lakewood, and the Heart of Ida program, which is pretty well known in Long Beach. We work closely with them. They do everything from coming into the home and preventing falls by arranging furniture and doing fall prevention assistance
Mhm.
for people. They
Mhm.
work with their pets. Pets are a wonderful, wonderful gift for a senior who lives alone. And I will tell you that the people that we serve, the only person, most of them tell us that the only person they ever see is the Meals on Wheels volunteer. So
Wow.
when we can bring in somebody that will walk their dog for them, with a free dog walking service through Heart of Ida, that's wonderful. What a gift. Um,
Yeah.
so that, it's there's just so much, and we're trying to work on digital inclusion. So teaching seniors how to use a
Yep.
tablet or even using their cell phone,
Right. To
so they get
connect,
better
to
access, right?
communicate. This
Exactly.
is incredible. This kind of brings a whole different dimension when you look at those Meals on Wheels delivery vans or delivery vehicles. There's a whole network behind that. It's just so interesting that those of us who aren't signed up for those kinds of services, that are very appreciative of the fact that they are available in the community. It's good to know that, kind of behind the facade of that meal delivery, there is also a network of
Yes.
other providers, of other services that are really making an impact on the daily lives of a lot of our seniors or individuals who are homebound in
Yeah.
the community. Any lessons learned, Bill, that you want to share, or maybe hopes as far as what you would like to continue to see in collaboration building?
I probably one of the most exciting things that happened to me, and I shared this on my Long Beach Gives uh, page. I don't know if you
Nice.
saw my page, but when I was in high school playing football as a young kid, there was a gentleman who was winning Super Bowls, and he was a very historic figure. He was the first African American uh, full-time quarterback or season quarterback in the NFL, and he went on to win 2 Super Bowls. He played with O.J. Simpson, which I was like, that was pretty, amazing. Just to understand that he was there with that character in this world. Um, and he was a Meals on Wheels client. He showed up
Wow.
here. He showed up as a client, and I saw his name, and I thought, my God, and I got to meet him. So I think kind of my message is his name is Marlon Briscoe, and he passed away last June. But he passed away in a comfortable hospital bed because Meals on Wheels found him in a condition. The volunteers
Mm,
stepped in, and we got him to the hospital. Had that not been the case, who knows how that would have, it was going to end anyway. But he wasn't comfortable.
right.
But I think the greatest thing that I've learned is you never know who's out there who needs help.
Hmm.
And this was a gentleman who I had a lot of respect for as a kid. And here I am getting to meet him. He let me hold his Super Bowl ring, and I'm not the biggest football fan in the world, but this was history, and he was right here. He was right here
Yeah.
with us, and he part of our family for quite a while. He did a couple little videos for us when he was healthy. But we have other people,
Right.
amazing individuals who have you know the- that they are due because of the lives they've lived, whether they raised a family, maybe a lady who's raised a family,
Hmm.
and her
Hmm.
husband passed away, and the kids are all spread out around the country, and she's all alone. We have another woman whose son moved her out here with him. It was just the two of them in 2019, and he got a job out here, and he wanted to bring mom with him, and she was in her 80s. They came out together, and they shared this little apartment, and he passed away because of COVID. And here she was
Wow.
all alone, and so Meals on Wheels stepped in as her family. But there's just every single person serves a story and a history and they love to talk and love to share about it, and you know, come to life when you have that
Yes.
conversation.
Yeah,
Um, so it's so much more than food, and you know, they call it
absolutely.
socialization,
Mm.
but it's,
Hmm.
that word kind of is sterile in itself, you know. But these are
Mm.
people who are socially isolated that don't get
Hmm.
to talk to people and have a conversation. So what we are doing now is developing extended visiting beyond delivering meals. So we're looking for new volunteers, people that want to come in and maybe spend an afternoon with Sally or
Hmm. Hmm.
Herman or whatever the client is, and maybe read to them or share about similar interests or just listen to their life story. It's you know, people are elderly, and these are the people that are so isolated and alone, they don't have anybody else. So
Right,
we're their family, and
right.
we want the community to come in and join us and be their family too.
With deep appreciation for what you just shared and what you just illustrated, which is, when the rubber hits the road, this is really about impacting somebody's an individual, right? Somebody who, like you said, probably has this deep lived experience, and you just don't know the complexity behind a lot of these stories. But it also makes me really appreciate so much the work of your volunteers.
Yeah.
And I think for anyone, kind of listening to this interview, and I think fully now starting to understand, it's not just about the meal delivery, which in and of itself is very important. We have to continue to keep an eye on access to food, um, healthy food, in and delivered in safe ways, right? As you were describing, but it's really how important and what a lifeline volunteers are to the work that you're doing.
Yeah.
And so you're constantly recruiting volunteers at this point, right? There's always a way to engage volunteers.
For anybody that's listening, we don't turn anybody away. There's a job for everyone here. We've worked, and you know, I have to add to that that volunteers to us are also students that come to us from the university here at Cal State Long Beach. So we get what's called the service learning students that are
Yep.
required for or an entry level class in say gerontology or health science or political science. We get them from all different disciplines, and they come here for 20 hours a semester. So they basically are going out and delivering meals and meeting people that it could remind them of their grandparents or
That's right.
you know, so that I see them light up. It's you know, and the elderly that we're serving, when a young person comes to visit them and bring a meal and have a conversation, it's just wonderful for them as well.
Right.
So
Right.
volunteers come in all shapes and sizes, but we are never full. There's
And the
always room.
best way for anyone listening to this to connect with Meals on Wheels Long Beach and either try to connect as a volunteer or a donor, contributor, because there's always obviously an open invitation for folks who really want to give and support the mission. What is the best way? What's the best way to reach you? Is it going to your website?
Well, I'm happy to take phone calls. I
Yes.
still use a telephone. Um, but the easiest way, I think, in these times is to go to our website. It's www.mowlb.org. So that all
Perfect.
means Meals on Wheels Longbeach.org. I think you can get to us by typing all that out or just using
Mm-hmm.
mowlb.org.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a new website. We're constantly making the website better. We don't have huge budgets for that. We try, you know, I want to add that, you know, we just had an audit, and I'm very proud to say that 86 cents of every dollar that comes into this organization goes back into programming and taking care of the clients. And that's an incredible number. I know our accountant that was doing the audit was like, no, we need to look at it again. That can't be right. But it was, and I was very proud of that. And we owe that to volunteers. And So we
Amazing.
do have a website that's very interactive. People can
Mhm,
sign up
mhm,
to become a client. They can sign up to become a volunteer. There's quite a bit of information and
mhm,
frequently asked questions
mhm.
about what volunteering, how can I volunteer, how often do I volunteer, all those kind of questions. But we are probably, I have volunteered myself at many organizations, and sometimes there are a lot of rules and regulations, and can't do this, you can't do that. We try to make this really easy for people to do and make it fun. And we have a drive-through process, so they don't need to lug the food around. We load it into their cars for them. We have a wonderful team that works with us, and a lot of students that help us do this as well. But we make it as easy and seamless as possible for people to volunteer with us.
That's great. Wow, that's so good to hear. And I was on your website earlier, and in fact, it is pretty easy to navigate through and get to the information that you need to get through. Whether you are looking to sign up for services yourself, or you want to help somebody sign up for services, or you're looking to volunteer. And there's also a section for those who want to contribute and would like to donate. But for anybody who wants to have a deeper conversation with you, what is that best way? Do you suggest email or a phone call
Email
or
is a good way, or phone calls. So my email is bill@mowlb.org.
perfect?
You don't have
Perfect.
to spell my last name, because it took me 40 years to get it spelled right myself.
Oh
And
my
then
goodness.
I am available by phone, and our phone number is 562-439-5000.
Thank you so much for all of this, Bill. It's been truly a pleasure to get to know not just more about Meals on Wheels Long Beach and your incredible history, but also very, very thankful to get to know more about you and your story. And before we wrap up our interview today, do you want to share with us what might be coming down the pike for Meals on Wheels? Are there any events that are happening before the end of the year? Anything to share?
We have a big thing coming up in the last 2 weeks of October. It's our online auction.
Okay.
And I don't have the specifics, you kind of caught me off guard. But if you're a drinker, we have an entire liquor section of some really incredible liquors that were donated for this auction. We've got a couple trips in there. We've got,
Wow.
packages, date night packages and things like
Hmm.
that. So all of that information and the link to that platform and the bidding for the online auction begins October 15th and runs through till the end of the month, October 31st.
Very
So
good.
again, mealsonwheelslongbeach.org or mowlb.org.
And all that information will be posted on your website.
Correct.
So very good. Bill, what a pleasure. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you, Carolina. It's been really a nice opportunity to kind of tell the deeper
Hmm.
story about
There we
Meals on
go.
Wheels people don't know. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. And
All
thanks
right.
to all of you for watching. Please keep in touch with Meals on Wheels.